Robin, thanks so much. We're starting with the Jodi Arias defense team. Pretty busy at work. They got yet another obstacle in keeping Jodi off of death row. But first, that 12-year-old California kid accused of murdering his little sister says he's innocent. And his lawyers and parents are standing by him. On our panel today, Dr. Drew in Los Angeles. And here with me, attorney and mom, Carrie Hackett. Also our Christy Paul. Raising America starts right now. The 12-year-old boy accused of stabbing his little sister more than 20 times is maintaining his innocence, and his parents are taking his side, too. His lawyers say there are lots of holes in this case, and they need to see more evidence. Now, from the outset, this was a death that definitely terrorized a community and had a lot of people asking, how could this even happen?
Hi, 911. How can I help you? My children are at home alone. And a man just ran out of my house. My older son was in the bathroom and my daughter started screaming.
The small town of Valley Springs living in fear as a murderer remains on the loose.
And I'm sure a lot of families last night locked all their windows, locked all their doors for the first time.
While the search goes on, detectives are still questioning the brother.
He is not a suspect at this time, but we are continuing to talk to him.
A story authorities now say was a lie.
At 5:10 p.m., detectives arrested Leela's 12-year-old brother.
How could a 12-year-old commit an offense like this in such a way that would not lead to an immediate arrest? It would take 2,000 hours of law enforcement resources and FBI resources before they felt that it pointed toward him.
So, Carrie, you just heard talking about all those resources, right, to try and pin this on a 12-year-old. You know, why would it take that much manpower?
Well, I think that the 12-year-old is the suspect at this point, and he has been arrested. But the 12-year-old told police and investigators that somebody else committed this crime. So I think that they had focused for a long period of time on trying to determine who this other person was before they determined that, in fact, it probably is this 12-year-old.
But, Drew, 2,000 hours of manpower. You know, a 12-year-old seems so young to be able to convince police and the FBI that he didn't do it. Go out there and look for somebody.
Kira, I agree with you. However, let's flip it around and just think about how we all look at this crime and think it's unbelievable. We can't let it in. We can't accept it. How could this possibly be that a 12-year-old slaughters his own sister like that? Our head won't go there. And listen, the people doing the investigating, as open-minded as they might be, they're humans like the rest of us, and they don't want to go to that spot. Although they did reluctantly, and once they did, all the evidence kept pointing in that direction.
We know, the boy isn't charged with premeditation here because that would be first-degree murder. But what is it that makes it second-degree murder legally? Carrie?
Basically, in California, second-degree murder is anything other than premeditated murder or felony murder, which is when somebody commits a murder during the commission of another felony.
Okay.
You know, we've learned a lot about the Fowler family dynamic as well. And, Drew, we've talked to you about this family. Layla Fowler's dad, 7 kids with 4 different women. Layla and her brother's biological mom, she's not really in the picture. Court documents say that the family has a history of financial and child support issues. So I know you can't diagnose. You always make that clear, Dr. Drew. But, you know, you're a head doc. Do you think this family dynamic, all of these factors could impact the boy's behavior and lead to something as brutal as this?
What you'd be looking for is more of a biological problem as well as a psychological dynamic issue, because the magnitude of this, well, you wonder, just like in Newtown, Connecticut, you go, oh my God, how could that really smacks of something where some problem exists in the ability to process empathy, almost, some brain issue in addition to extreme chaos or extreme stressors, extreme circumstances that lead to children having trouble. There's something more that would have to be going on here.
I would think anger. I mean, something like this, and I know we talked about it in Jodi Arias too, but the rage factor, and the rage factor for a 12-year-old, I think is what is so brutal to me. I mean, Dr. Drew, there's been a lot of speculation about why he might have done this, but do you see rage in this kid? If he is guilty of this, if he is guilty of this.
You know, you're going to have to think much more, I think, complexly about this. If you remember, again, I would just point to Newtown, Connecticut, and think, you know, we started talking about problems with him having, you know, autistic spectrum and other kinds of brain phenomenon that coupled with, not because of that disorder, but coupled with other things, make the brain unable to have the usual regulatory systems in place whereby people can act something out, like you say, Christy. Rage is one of the possibilities, but it's going to be something of a very complex nature, and I almost don't even want to speculate. You see, if we were to speculate, you see all that chaos in the family, you know, that you listed alongside, you know, in the Chiron a few minutes ago. You think about somebody with extreme bipolarity, all those wives, all that moving around, financial difficulty. So maybe there's, again, that biological problem in the genetic heritage of that family.
Well, and Kira, I think, too, a 12-year-old to be able to say, I didn't do this and stand by it if he did.
And to
I would cave. Wouldn't you cave?
Yeah.
If you did it?
It's pretty remarkable, and he's actually living in a single cell right now, attending school at the juvenile detention facility. His dad and stepmom have actually moved out of the area. We're going to continue to follow the case.